crack-a-lacking people. In this segment of my channel, I want to talk about those games where the storytelling, I feel, is told more through the world itself than through text or dialogue. And the first game I'd like to talk about is a gem of a title called Ico on the PlayStation 2. I love this game. Now, for me, there are some games that straddle the border of what it means to be a video game. And in my humble opinion, Ico is one of them. But I'm not here to talk about how fantastically phenomenal this game is overall. As I mentioned, I'm here to talk about how fantastically phenomenal its storytelling is. And as I said, not through the small amount of text you might read or the voice acting you hear, but more through how the castle itself tells you everything you need to know in a way that leaves you utterly spellbound. The artistic direction of this game, visually, at least for me, leaves you entranced, as the almost unnatural light that adds a glowing-like effect around the castle, and the characters, they almost glow with it. You got this soft, subtle soundtrack which echoes in the background, adding further mystery and danger to this wonderful island prison. All these things add to the storytelling, but the castle itself is an intricately thought out puzzle that, when unlocked, loops around back on itself to where you pretty much started. Even when at first you might feel as lost as, say, Alice when she's falling down a rabbit hole or something. The tombs that lay embedded in the interior walls, they make no sound whatsoever, obviously, and they don't necessarily look ominous in any way. But after the intro, once you've escaped from your own tomb that you've been placed in, the way you look at them changes forever, and they suddenly become tombs not for those who were laid to rest, but for those who were put there to be tortured or forgotten. How can such objects that aren't designed in any horrid way, visually, anything, how can they suddenly send a shiver down your spine? Personally, I found that incredible. Just that realization of what they could have been for, or what they actually are for, just from your own little quick experience with them. As your journey progresses, you get the sense that there is much more to this castle than meets the eye. Not only is it a place for the damned or those to be forgotten, but you get the impression that something doesn't want you to leave. Whether that's initially whether you feel that's the castle itself, potentially having some sort of life form, some sort of presence, or maybe it's something else inside the castle that resides within its walls, watching you through unseen eyes. This is further fueled by when you first find Yorda, who's the girl who now becomes integral to the experience that Ico wants to offer you, the game wants to offer you. Your quick realization that there's a girl locked up in this cage by herself in the middle of the castle adds a weight to the story that immediately confirms your initial, your previous suspicions that something is wrong with this place. And not only that, you get the feeling that whoever created this castle created it purely to keep this girl locked away. That's what you feel. Further evidence is added as the very shadows of the castle itself come to life and try to drag Yorda into the darkness, back into the shadows. Now you have to remember, the game isn't telling you virtually anything at this point. Not through text or through voice acting, and if there is any of that, it's a very small amount, and that's just coming from Ico, who is asking Yorda who she is. And she replies briefly, but she speaks to you back in her own language that you don't understand. And that's also something I love in games, when it could just be a foreign language, for me, or preferably when the game creators create their own language, which adds a further level of authenticity to a game. And I love it when people do that. So all you know at this moment is that she's not only important to the story, but incredibly fragile based off her actions and her appearance. And as you progress, you get this virtually silent bond, created between the two characters, and both can only communicate through simple gestures and calls, but they both have the desire not to not to want to be in this place. The haunted nature of the interior of the castle, it sets a tone that few other games have matched in my opinion. This isn't a horror title where the game is preparing to make you jump out of your skin or even create the type of atmosphere that leaves you constantly on edge with the worry that something might happen. It's purely from the castle itself, which drips with history, a sense of it's always been, like it's always been there, and this is through its crumbling walls, its rattling chains, its stone steps and crude wooden scaffolding or walkways. It makes you believe that this place was built by human hands, but was perhaps abandoned or halfway through or at completion. And then it makes you think back to who the shadow creatures are creeping out of the cracks of the castle, intent on dragging Yordle away. Were they perhaps the workers who might have been locked away in those tombs to ensure that the secrets of this place remained a secret, or were they something else? Were they people just like Eiko, just like the main character? That in itself is quite a dark thought process. A dark thought. The castle itself it's not lavished, with furniture or tapestries in any way. It's not that type of castle. This wasn't a place to be lived in, and you know that from the very start. Even the villagers who bring you there, who lock Eiko away, they apologize to him that they had to do this, and they get out of there. They don't hang around no longer than they need to. I mean, what are they scared of? Do they know these creatures are there, or do they just know that something is wrong with the castle? And this is where they take people who they believe to be cursed. And then even at the start, the place appears to be completely devoid of life, but it's not. And this is what I love about the game. It gets your mind working, and it's not given to you through text-filled story or lines of voice acting. It's all from everything that you're seeing and experiencing and interacting with within this castle. How the castle presents it to you, and it's an incredible thing that manages to offer you enough story and enough understanding without feeling too obscure. As the game progresses, you learn exactly what inhabits this castle, but even then, the game leaves enough out to keep you thinking, to keep you wondering, but not enough that you don't feel unsatisfied at the end from what you've been given. And it's this sense of mystery is so difficult to achieve in games through my experience. I've played a lot of games, a lot of story-filled games, and this sense of mystery is just so difficult to achieve, and Eiko is one of those games that does it perfectly. Many games these days use forms of graffiti on walls to eventually tell you what's going on. Now, I feel this works to a degree sometimes, but Eiko doesn't need to do that. It just doesn't need to do it. Through the main character's relationship, through to the crumbling castle walls, it's ancient looking mechanics, and you even get these moments of serene beauty where you might come out of the bowels of the castle and come up into what looks like a garden, and you got the grass blowing in the breeze as well as the trees. You get birds flying and landing on the grass that Yordle chases. It's almost like the game wants to let you know that we know what you're going through. We want you to breathe for a second, and then you can, once you've breathed, you need to get back in there in order to get out. And this game just gives you everything you need to know, story-wise, just from the play area itself, just from the castle. It continues to hold a few things back, but those things can happily remain, a secret within this beautiful castle. And for those reasons, this is why I love Eiko's storytelling and narrators, some of the best in video game history.